Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in and check out your boy, P-Funk, thinking right out here in the lab. And yeah, I'm in the book. I got a good lesson for you today. So, you know what we do. We're going to have some cultural interactions. So, get ready. I got you. Rightism, 25 rules to live by. Storytelling, story with a message. There's a message in my stories for life. I give life lessons. You tune in and receive them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right thinking mission, and I'm on it. It's to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking's way of life through mental and spiritual discipline. Practice daily will help and guide you to attain your goal of reaching spiritual enlightenment, aka to know thyself. My mission is that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, yep, your goal is to know thyself. You see where we're going with this? Let's get that together. So I asked the question, do you know you? You will when I get through. Yep, that's what I do. It's rhetorical, but if you don't have an answer for yourself, tune in. I got you. A person who knows not and knows not that they know not, foolish, disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not. It's simple, but you can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. I appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm the spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. That's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself and to my eye, be true. Woo-hoo-hoo. The content today, right thinkers, let's talk about two cultural interactions between Judaism and Babylonian. And then I'm going to give you the cultural interaction between ancient Egypt. It pains me to say this. Ancient Greece. Another situation. I let that go. It's personal. Every time I deal with them guys, I get a little personal. All right, I get past that. Let me get this lesson. This is going to be fun. This is going to be the comparisons and the interaction between the two and views and respect religious concepts that we had. All right, now, in this area of study is an important figure from the Mesopotamia. Now we're going to talk about Mesopotamian and Babylonian in the Judaism concept, okay? Everybody got a story. Every story pretty much the same story. Let me start with that, okay? They just call it something different. But now we're going to deal with the Mesopotamian, who they thought start civilization because they got a king named Hammurabi. Now Hammurabi is believed to have lived around 1792 to 1750 BCE. So he didn't start a damn thing. He was the king, so he wrote laws. Okay, they call it the code. He was the king. Let me just get to the lesson. Stop doing my own personal stuff. All right, let's just go. I read through this before I get it. So my thing is, he was the king of Babylonia. And during the first dynasty, which started in 1792 BCE, we was back in 35, way before that. So moving on, just want to keep the notes there, keep the numbers. All right, it's a number game. Now he expanded his role over Mesopotamia and organized the empire by building granaries and canals, and classified the laws into a famous, what they call Code of Hammurabi. Y'all call it the Bible when Moses did it, all right? But the divine origin, watch this, ascribed to the code is a particular interest to our study. Why? Because the Hammurabi can be seen receiving the code in a bas relief in which he is depicted as receiving the code from what they call the sun god Shamash. Ra in Egypt, Shamash in Mesopotamia. Okay, but now in much the same way as what Moses would later what? Receive his 10 commandments up on Mount Sinai from God, who had appeared what? In a burning bush. I'm just saying. And fire, now fire is usually what they call the solar motif. They use fire to represent God. I understand that. But again, this code, this mode of introducing a teaching or what they call a new order. They changing their philosophy, so to speak. And by what? How do you do that? By claiming, rest this, by claiming it to be divinely inspired or ordained. Just by God. God says it. And I let the white community, he said, yeah, God will smite you, torture you forever, but he loves you. He said, they sold you on this fictitious guy. Yeah, oh, he got a problem with money. God needs money. I love that. Well, everybody say it's ordained by God. When the Christian they started crusade, they said God said to kill everybody that wasn't Christian. Okay, we know where the idea came from. Ra, when he left here and went up to heaven to get away from us humans, he said, listen, he sent his daughter at Haru down here to what? Smite everybody who didn't respect him. So that idea ain't the first either. Moving on. But everything is ordained by God. Now, it is reality. It's an attempt. Now, in reality, it's an attempt to what? Impress the ignorant masses. They been thinking y'all been ignorant a long time. They don't never respect the masses. That's the problem with society. The only civilization that respected its masses was the Egyptians. Everybody else had no respect for the masses. And that's why they failed. Moving on. Why? Because the masses of people, the authenticated what? The importance and the force with which the new teachings were what? Received and must therefore be followed. It's new, this is by God, this is what we're doing. So just like Moses, the Hammurabi created the laws himself. And my brother said, he made up as he go. He swear to God, nobody knows the truth. He said, everybody's just making up. I said, dude, I didn't make right thing up. Man, you could just make it. No. It's structured, it's laid out. I'm just putting my own spin on it and making my personal opinion, but I didn't just make it up, and I'm not making it up as I go. Some people. But watch this. And he made up the laws himself, but he claimed he got them from, everybody claimed God gave it to him. Moses went up in Mount Sinai, came down, God gave him the laws. A burning bush gave you laws. Moving on, we ain't going there. Ain't about that. Just we showing you the similarities in the cultures and how they interact and how they relate. Now, watch this. He wrote the laws himself, or what? Or in conjunction with other information that he had, wishing to what? Institute what they considered back then a new order for society. All they want to do is control the thinking of society. In the same time, call you stupid. That makes no sense. Whether or not they were what? Divinely inspired relates to what? The degree of communion they were able to achieve with the divine self. Those who didn't know God, those who probably had experience, they was tricking the people. Sound familiar? They call them pastors now, preachers and mega churches. Okay, they want what? Money. Moving on. That's what makes them mega. Money. Okay. Now, God, what's this? This that they say could only ascertain for themselves. We teach you. God is individual. Everybody has to have their own experience. Even the general public, even the masses. The masses can have bliss. The masses can know themselves. That was the whole idea. Spirituality, immature, watch this, spiritually immature people will tend to what? Follow and embrace a teaching which what? They only believe. They call it a belief system for a reason. I don't give a damn what religion you practice. It's a belief system. Stop with that nonsense because you believe it. Don't mean a damn thing to me. And your sincerity still mean less. How about that? Moving on. So, because you believe that it was what? Inspired by God. Yeah, it gets crazy. Everything is inspired by God. The bad guys inspired by God. The devil inspired by God. Why? Everything is inspired by God. But you being the deciding factor, it's your choice. That's where Mayat comes in. You can do this, you can do that. Simple as that. And when you do what God ordains for you, you will recognize Him by the blessing that you receive from Him from doing that. That sound familiar? Oh, y'all call it miracles. No, they ain't no damn miracle. Excuse me. But even if what? They cannot know for certain intellectually. Why? Because they just believe. So they're not going to use their intellect. They're just going to go with their heart and their mind. I just believe what they're telling me. Okay. They feel. There you go. That feel is the heart. They feel what? They somehow know where in the heart. Come on, man. It's a mind game. They feel in their hearts as what? They are urged by what? Passionate preachers. Hello, there you go. There you go. If I'm sitting here, oh Lord, all that nonsense, y'all swear to God, yeah, he got the ghost. He full of crap, that's what they are. But you're passionate because your preachers preached it and to what? Tell you to have faith. We walk by faith, not by sight. But just give me that money, don't worry about it. If we walk by faith, why I gotta give you my money? Why can't I keep my money? We can't still walk by faith? Oh, it costs you. Walking by faith ain't free. I'm the only one who gives free information. Moving on. Let's go. But however, there's always a however. Now, if the people were to wake up, but they are what? Fanatical instead of what? Intellectual or introspective and sober in their religious practices, churches would die out. Because they realize one thing, I don't need this. I don't need this. If you can let me come to church and you can preach to me and enlighten me for free, I'm there. That ain't gonna happen. And I understand every building, you got over here, I've been in an organization before, I was a Mason, I understand all of that. We've been paying, they'll get building fund since forever. Ain't got a new building yet. So I get the concept, I get the game, okay? I see all that. And when I got higher in the ranks of Masonic order, it pissed me off. Why? Y'all full of crap. Full of crap. They may follow what? The teachings of what? Those who are not authentic. Spiritual leaders. Okay, I don't want no damn preacher leading me nowhere outside the church, first of all. And I'm not following somebody who I know don't know what the hell they talking about. And if you swear you do, and I know better, I don't care what you swear. You go that way, I'm going that way. Why? I don't need to go your way. I know where I'm going. Could care less. When you go when you think you go, I don't have to waste my time with that. Why? I know myself. So I don't need to be led somewhere. I got to just follow you. No, I don't. Moving on. I don't need that. Moving on. And you got authentic spiritual leaders, and what happened? They will lead you blindly, even what? To their death. When the concept of blind leading the blind off the cliff, that's what they're saying. When you're human, you go off a damn cliff, you're going to die. They're leading you to your death. All metaphorical, all symbolical. But if you understand it, you can avoid some of the nonsense that you put yourself through. Why? Of being ignorant. And that was the difference between the Judaism and the Babylonians. Now we're going to get into the culture interactions between ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, as they said. I got to, every time I say that, I'm trying to get this, I'm going to get half of it in. I see I got 2 pages of information. I ain't going to make it, but I'm going to put it down. Let's go. Excuse me. The Greek myth. One thing about the Greeks, they tell you these are myths. The Roman Catholics misinterpreted the myth and tried to make the myth literal. But we ain't talking about them right now. But let's talk about the Greeks. They didn't get it right either. Why? Because let's read. I got a personal thing with these guys. Greek myth is the conglomeration, altogether, of stories related to certain divine personalities. Again, and their interactions with what? Each other, even with human beings. At one time, they tell you God walked with man. Okay, no problem. I can conceive that from a mythological concept. We got no problem. But I'm not going to literally say God walked with man and no, God is man. Man is God. They're one and the same. So I know that intellectually. Okay, so I'm not beat for the misinterpretation. Let's go. So they understand. In the main stories about the Greek divinities, God and goddesses, meaning they had male and female, okay, are contained in what they call epics, stories, myths, the language that they spoke to teach. They had a book called the Iliad and the Odyssey. It was written by the Greek philosopher Homer in 900 BCE. And guess what? His story is just like the Egyptian story, just like the Babylonian story, just like the Mesopotamian. Everybody got a story. They just put their spin up like I did right there in philosophy. I took my yacht philosophy, she taught knitted, smart taught way, and woven my personal life into it, so make it mine. I ain't changed nothing. I ain't make nothing up. Moving on. So he did this in 900 BCE. Where did he get the information from? Egyptians. What's this? Stop. Let me read this to you. Maybe this to make more sense. The main functions of the gods. They had functions. That means they understood the elements, okay, and the functions. The god and goddesses and their mingling with human beings was outlined in these early Greek mythologies. Again, the early Greeks also, watch this, spoke of origins of their gods and goddesses. It must be clearly understood, pay attention, that at that time, when the early Greeks organized themselves sufficiently enough in order to take up a task of what? Learning what? Art, culture, and civilization. We got them started, okay? We did them, we did Europe, we did everybody, but we don't get credit for none of that. But watch this. When they got to that point, they had very little, up until that point, they had very little in the way of culture of their own. And what they did have was primitive. Okay? Old, ancient, not modern, no technique. By ancient Egyptians and what? The Indus Valley standards, thousands of years earlier, they behind. All right? So what happened? The force of the ancient Egyptian culture created, perhaps, you ready? The strongest impression on the Greeks, but it was not the only impressions since the Greeks had traveled to other lands. Mesopotamia, okay, they got their knowledge too. Asia, they got that. And attempted to what? To assimilate the teachings of others as well as their own, and made it their own. Calm down, fire, down, relax. I want to jump on that so bad, but I got to stick with the lesson. They borrowed the information, they borrowed Egyptian knowledge, and watch this. They coupled with their own ideas, right there, ding, ding, ding. They coupled with their own ideas, and what happened? They caused a situation wherein they had now created a synthesis of what they call religious philosophies, which is fine, not a problem. Again, the expression of Greek culture and philosophy in later periods is all reflective of what? This synthesis, where in short, what is regarded as Greek myth was really in reality what? Patchwork of different ideas that had statement from Herodotus, another Greek philosopher, and he suggests, and I'm telling you right here, almost all of the names of the gods came into Greece from Egypt. I want to drop the pen, but I got some more. I ain't done. I got a whole other page of this, but I'm going to stop until I see the clock. I'm going to make this a two-parter. So watch this. The first thing we want you to know, that everything great got out of Egypt. Now, my personal inquiries and my due diligence proved that they were all derived from foreign sources. They didn't create nothing. They just stole everybody else's. And my opinion on that, Egypt furnished the greater number of their gods. For with the exception of what? Neptune, which is theirs, Dioscuri, that's theirs, whom I mentioned above, and Juno, Vesta, Thymus, these are all graces. And the Nereidus, the other gods have been known from time of immemorial, where in Egypt they took ours, added theirs, they had created, and made their own little thing. I get it, I understand it, but this assert on what? The authority of the Egyptian themselves. They bit off our knowledge, created, and gave it back to the world as is. I was a Greek philosopher. Greek philosophy, that was my major in college. Don't tell nobody. Okay. But that was from Herodotus. Now you got another Greek philosopher called Solon, Solon. You got Thales. You might remember all these are Greek philosophers who became famous after going into Egypt and learning. Watch this. Solon, Thales, Plato, Eudoxus, Pythagoras, all went into Egypt and consorted with the priests. Now, this guy, Eudoxus, they say received instructions from what the priests called Canopus and out of Memphis, Solon from Sanchez and Nicaeus, that's another part of Africa, Egypt, that they were studying philosophy. I did get that. We had 6 different places. That's one of them. They had their own culture, their own philosophy, which pretty much mirrored the Egyptians. All right. And Pythagoras from Heliopolis. That's us again. Plutarch, which is a Greek historian, from 46 to 120 ACE. Now we're on the other side. By this time, the Greeks done got everything. Is Greek this, Greek that, Greek everything, Latin this, everything. They just controlling all the education concepts, okay, and religious philosophy. But the Greeks, names for the cities in ancient Egypt. Every Greek, Egypt, we call it Kemet. The Greeks called us Egyptians. We still using that name. We told them our God, Asar, Aset, and Haru, and Osiris, Isis, and Horus. What the? So I got issue with them changing name nonsense, and I understand why they do it, because it shows superiority. I tell you my name is Bob, you call me Robert. I ain't gonna answer. I tell you my name P, you call me Q, I ain't gonna answer. X, Y, Z, none of them. P. Moving on. But that's a sign of ownership, mastery over something. You name it, you claim it. Old school. They learned that from us also. But we did it in elemental concepts in the different element to weight. They used it for what? To control, manipulate. Still to this day. Moving on. All right. No, I'm going. Let's go. Let's rock. Now, Greek philosophy. No such thing. Nothing. Greek mythology, they made up stories. But philosophy, no. They stole all of it. They didn't create nothing. The Greek philosophy had been equated, watch this, with the origin of Western civilization. That's all y'all know. Ancient Greek, no such thing, philosophers such as Thales, circa 634 to 546 BCE. That's way down now. Okay, that's the Greeks. Okay. And Pythagorean from 582 to 500. Again, way down now, but they famous. They famous. Are thought of to have originated and innovated in the sciences and the mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy, or metaphysics. They taking credit for everything that they got from the Egyptian. Literally. Okay, watch this. Now, these disciplines of the early Greek philosophers had a major impact on the development of this Christianity, religion y'all call Christianity. Why? Because since the versions of Christianity, which was practiced in the Western, here you go, this when the Catholics came in, Rome. Rome took it, they did what the Greeks did to the Egyptians, the Romans did that to the Greeks, and they came up with Christianity. That's what I'm trying to show you. In the Byzantine, okay, empires was developed in Greece, along Greek culture, and at the Greek language. They knew all of that. They didn't like it. They wanted their own. So they tried to make their own stuff. However, upon closer review, A lot of people don't do that. That means do some due diligence and get into it. Find some real stuff out. Stop the surface stuff. Get into it. What's this? The ancient writings and contemporary historians of those times, your early Christianity, they also point out to what? Sources other than Greek philosophy. Meaning what? And hence, we are led to discover the similarities in the philosophy by what? Tracing their origins to the common source. Ding, 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 ding. All roads lead back to Egypt. As stated earlier, there are evidence, not statements, evidence that shows how ancient Egypt supported not only the education of the early Greek philosophers who came to Egypt to study at the ancient Egyptian schools of mystery systems itself, but Egypt also supported the ancient Egyptian mystery temples that were established where? In Greece. Some Egyptian pharaohs sponsored and financed temples aboard which what? Taught mystery philosophy as well as other disciplines to the Greeks. One such effort was put forth by the ancient Egyptian king Amyas, who financed what? The reconstruction of the famous temple of Delphi. Now, Delphi is the biggest well-known temple out of Greece. Why? Because they took our philosophy, our slogan, our mantra, and made a slogan. Man, know thyself. Watch this. The Delphi in Greece, which was burnt down in 548 BCE, this is the temple which made the saying, man, know thyself famous. Told you. The ancient Egyptian philosophy of what? Self-knowledge. That's the best knowledge. Self-knowledge, okay, was well known throughout the ancient world. Everybody knew our philosophy. Everybody knew what we taught. The oracle of Zeus, a.k.a. Asar, at Dodona, was the oldest. What's this? And the one of the Delphi, the most famous Herodotus records, a Greek tradition which held that the Dodona was founded by the priesthood, are you ready, of the Egyptians, Thebes. Further, he asserts that the oracle of Delos was founded by the, Egyptians who became king of Athens. You had a black Egyptian king running Greece in 1558 BCE. Did you know that? They don't tell you that part, do they? Moving on. This would be one of the earliest suggested dates for the existence of what? A civilization in Greece. We gave them civilization. And it is being attributed to what? To an ancient Egyptian origin by the Greeks themselves. In Greek culture, is unmistakable and far-reaching. Along with this is the association between the Greek city of Athens and the ancient Egyptian city of Sais. Again, there you go. These two were known as what? You ready? Sister cities. In ancient times, also the Greeks and the Egyptians regarded the goddesses of these cities as being one and the same in essence. Athena of Greece and Neith of Egypt. Tell you, Neith is the goddess who claimed to give birth to Ra. So she's the ultimate female. Okay, Mishkener, Neith, those are female goddesses. And the Greeks did the same thing with Athena, the warrior goddess. She came out in full, she's born in full gear. Remember, mythology. Let me wrap this up. But Thales is the first Greek philosopher of whom there is any knowledge, and therefore he is sometimes called, they call him the father of Greek philosophy. After studying in Egypt and with the sages of the ancient Egyptian temples, he found his own Ionian school of natural philosophy, which held that a single elementary matter, water, is the basis of all transformation of nature. Again, they're going to take a one thing aspect and build on it and make that. It don't work that way. So the similarity between these teachings and the ancient Egyptian primeval water and the creation story in the Genesis may be noted here. Okay? The ancient writings of the Greeks state that Theos visited Egypt and was initiated by the Egyptian priests into the Egyptian mystery system, aka our what we call college, okay, our institution of higher knowledge advanced, and that he learned astronomy, surveying, engineering, and the Egyptian theology during his time in Egypt. Went back home and became famous. This would have certainly included the theologies related to Asar, Amun, and Ptah. Pythagoras was a native of Samos who traveled often where? To Egypt also. On the advice of Theos. Look, man, you go down there and get with them. They know their stuff. And he received education also. He was introduced to each of the Egyptian priests in the major theologies which comprised the whole of the Egyptian religious system based on the Trinity principle, my man Amun Ra Ptah. Each of these legs of the Trinity were based on 3 Egyptian cities. Okay, these were Heliopolis, the priesthood of Ra, Memphis, the priesthood of Ptah, and Thebes, the priesthood of Amun. We know that. I gave all that. We know all that. Taking it in, I see the clock. I'm going to wrap it up right here. Now, in reference to the Ionian school that Theos founded, after his years of study in Egypt, a student from that school was Socrates, became one of the most famous sages and philosophers. Socrates from 470 to 399 BCE was regarded as one of the most important philosophers of ancient Greece. He ended up spending most of his life in Athens. However, he was known to have studied under the Ionian philosophers. This established a direct link between Socrates and his teachings from ancient Egypt. Socrates had a tremendous influence and many disciples to this day. One of the most popular of these disciples from Socrates became who? Plato, another one. In turn, taught others, including Aristotle, from 384 to 322, who was Plato's disciple for 19 years. After Plato's death, now Aristotle opened up a school of philosophy in Asia Minor. And for some people who Muslims think that Asia is Africa, no, it's Asia. Simple. The Asiatic black man. Yeah, we know that, but they wasn't the original man. So spare me that asinine understanding, misinterpretation, please. And watch this. Who Asia Minor, Aristotle educated Philip of Macedonia's son, the clown y'all call Alexander Numbnuts, between the years of 343 to 334 BCE. So Aristotle then returned to Athens and opened a school in the Lyceum near Athens. Here Aristotle lectured to his students. He urged Alexander into his conquest. Since the process, Aristotle, was now able to gain knowledge from the ancient writings of the conquered countries and took all Alexander's information and burnt the rest. After Alexander's conquest of Egypt, Aristotle became the author of over 1,000 books on philosophy. I'm glad it's the end. I'll be flipping out. But now you build it on Plato's theory of the forms. Aristotle developed the theory of the unmoved mover, which is a direct teaching from the Memphite theology as ancient Egypt. Among his works are the Amnomia, Nicomachean, Ethics, and Metaphysics. He got all that knowledge from the Egyptians. I'm done. I proved my point. Not my point, but I got that information. Now you got it. Now you know why I got a little problem with them guys. So in closing, right things. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. I enjoy giving them. But may you all live to be 100. Me, 100 miles a day. So I never know that my right thinkers who now know the truth about the Greeks have passed away. Aha!